Well, hello, everyone. My name is Gavin. I'm Partnership Director for AWE and President of Sunrise International, signing in here from New York. Today, we're going to have an incredible conversation, one of our Global AWE Nites, talking about the global VR gaming ecosystem. So something that we've always wanted to talk about, not giving enough attention to in many ways, the VR gaming growth, entertainment in VR in general. So very excited to have a chance to talk about this today. As many of you already know, AWE is a global XR community, AR, VR, holograms, volumetric capture, you name it. We cover all of the space in immersive media with 4 major events with USA in Santa Clara, AWE EU, Tel Aviv, and most recently that we just completed yesterday, AWE Asia. Of course, on top of that, we also have our AWE Nites, which are regional meetup activities now all online. So hopefully very soon meeting up in person as well. We actually just had our first in-person AWE Nite in Shanghai not too long ago since COVID. So that was exciting. For those of you that are all looking for that in-person engagement and can travel to the United States, we do have AWE USA, our flagship event, November 9th through 11th in Santa Clara. We super hope to see you there. I'll be there. I know many of our panelists will be there. Great chance to just kind of reconnect with the community and get an idea of what's been going on for the past 2 years. So for those of you that can't, that will actually be a hybrid event. So there will be online segments as well. We will be live streaming everything. So no loss, though it is great to see you in person. Of course, let's always connect on social. You can follow all of our panelists and as well as AWE online on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. So we do hope to continue the conversation there. We have the AWE Academy live and kicking with web AR workshops, fundraising for XR startups, virtual collaboration, all the sort of skills that you need if you're going to be operating in this space. As I mentioned, AWE Asia just completed. I was kind of sad because I didn't get to be there in person with the team this year, but did love being able to participate online and see the really vibrancy of that event. So for those of you, again, we didn't get a chance to go this year, but super excited for late August next year. There's not a new date yet, but definitely plan on being there as long as COVID permits. So really cool, really dynamic place to be. Hope to see you there. Now, that being said, AWE Asia, the online segment, will be live again October 7th and 8th. It's a totally free online expo. So for those of you that want to be able to join, we have a 3D expo. It's our first time doing a 3D expo of any kind. And we specifically picked one that works inside the firewall. So it's a really dynamic opportunity. Not sure what it's going to be like, but we'll be exploring it alongside of you. So go on AWE Asia, register for that. Again, totally complimentary event. Good chance to just communicate and make some friends with our friends in Asia that we haven't seen for a while. So that's kind of exciting. Again, a very special thanks to the sponsor for today's session, Movision, for making this possible. We do rely on our sponsors to run these AWE Nites and to support the AWE operations. So we're super grateful when we have sponsors enabling us to have these conversations. But that's enough about AWE. Let's introduce our really exciting panelists for today, give an opportunity for each of them to introduce themselves a little bit. Let's go ahead and start with Artemis. So Artemis, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Movision.
Hi, everyone. I'm Artemis from Movision. Movision is a Chinese company, and we've been doing quite well during the past years in XR hardware, and we are a little bit new in the content ecosystem aspect, but we are trying to do our best. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Artemis. Also joined here with Ricky Helgeson, who is the founder and head of the studio at Cortopia and CEO and co-founder of Beyond Frames. Ricky, tell us a bit about yourself and your work at Beyond Frames.
Right, sure. A very brief background is when I applied for my first job back in 1995, I didn't want the job, and they asked, why not? And I said, I want to make VR games. But it wasn't suitable at the time, but now I'm at the right place. So it's been a long-term journey for me to get to this place. I built 5 companies in different areas, mostly tech and gaming. And one of them was in positional tracking for AR and VR. And now I'm leading Beyond Frames and Cortopia to make amazing VR and AR games.
Awesome. Looking forward to hearing more. Also joined here with Jeremy Lamb, the founder and CEO of Venue, who also notably has been running an LBE Gaming Summit for the past 5 years. Jeremy, tell us a bit about yourself and your work in VR gaming.
Hey everyone, I'm Jeremy. I'm founder and CEO of Venue. We're actually also working together with Gavin and the AWE team to create that 3D virtual trade show experience for AWE Asia. So I highly encourage you to go check it out, aweasia.com. But yeah, we've come from 5+ years of experience developing VR games for VR arcades, hosting our annual VR arcade conference / VR LBE Summit with Microsoft, Samsung, HTC, and HP, and also shipped several games on Steam. And we also have one game that's out right now. We're looking for licensing opportunities, currently licensed to VR arcades all around the world with very positive reviews on Steam Store. So yeah, a big collective of a VR experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Finn Staber, founder and programmer of the infamous Chicken Waffle, also formerly a Best in Show at AWE for the AWE Awards. Finn, tell us what you're cooking up.
Hey, so yeah, Finn from Chicken Waffle. We're a game development studio in Austin, Texas, focused on creating amazing games and virtual experiences. We've built a cool lineup of our own original IP, won some cool awards, and we've also built like 68 games and experiences, marketing, product visualizations, and other virtual content for some amazing clients and partners. We have, like Gavin mentioned, we won Best in Show last AWE, and then previously I was also the co-founder and CTO of Wave, which also won Best in Show back in 2016, I believe. Yeah, and so we focus on cool immersive games. We also have been doing a lot of virtual events, social events. We've built some of the biggest virtual events in the world. We did CES and the Super Bowl and Microsoft Ignite and Sundance and the Pride XR and a slew of virtual comedy events. We're doing CES again this year. We're doing the big AWE after parties during AWE the US. We're doing like virtual after parties and just a huge lineup of virtual NFT galleries and other social events as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I'm excited to learn more. Also here with influencer Tony Scard-Gos-Vitillo, co-founder of New Technology Walkers, though I'm sure many of you know him from his blogs. Tony, tell us a bit about your work.
Hello everyone, and yeah, thanks for inviting me to this event. So basically, I'm Tony Vitillo. I'm co-founder of New Technology Walkers. We're a development studio in Italy focused on AR and VR. We really love these technologies. We do consultancies for parties. We create applications for others, but now we're also focusing a lot on our VR fitness game, HitMotion Reloaded, that we're trying to promote in every possible way. If you like fitness, please try it. At the same time, I also collaborate together with Vroom to make events in virtual reality and VR chat. So we have just done Venice VR Expanded with this South by Southwest this year. And I don't know if you participated at the New Year's Eve concert by Jean-Michel Jarre in VR chat. It was a blast. It was amazing. It was a cool moment to do this kind of events. And when I don't develop stuff, I like to talk about the technology on social media and on my blog, The Ghost Dolls. Today I was busy talking about the launch of the Unreal Air, for instance. I like to do a lot about this technology, and so I'm both a developer, a blogger, and I like this way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close that so we can get a nice view of everyone's faces for now as we dive into some more targeted questions. So Finn, let's start with you. You run a very successful studio. You've made many, many different games. What is the secret to for other studios here that are joining us on breaking out? What is it that really helped you get your name out there, get in front of other various clients? And when you're launching a product, how are you doing it? Are you doing it specifically on a single platform? Are you thinking about it on multiple platforms? And what process are you taking to do that?
Thanks. Yeah. So we've built content on nearly every platform available for games, and a lot of what we do. every project's a unique snowflake. So every project kind of requires a unique lift for, whether it's the fun factor or the engagement or the promotional element. With the VR games, we try to really focus on the theory of fun. What makes somebody want to play the game twice? What makes them want to play it 10 times? What makes them want to keep on coming back? What makes them want to share a video of themselves playing it? I think that's very important. For WebXR, which is something that we've been diving really deep into lately, the benefit of the WebXR content is it requires no download and runs on any device with a browser. So cross-platform multiplayer across any device, and and just kind of focusing on that Web3 evolution where there's an overarching elements that connect everybody into this ecosystem and try to bring blockchain into the virtual realm, and just knocking out AR and VR experiences through web browsers is it kind of removes the barrier of entry for a lot of people. Like I said, every project's a unique snowflake, so it's kind of different per project on what the delivery is or how the promotion is going to get it out there. But I think, for games, it's very important to engage with influencers and streamers and people that play games and create user-generated content. That's one of our games, Baby Hands, the virtual reality baby simulation, where the floor is like chest height and you're crawling around like a baby getting into mischief, and it's from the 90s. But the value of that one was it had a lot of retro parodies, hundreds of like pop culture references. And we would watch these videos of YouTubers or streamers playing the game, and they would try to do something, or we'd have it at a conference and we'd watch somebody try to do something in the game using their imagination, trying to do something, and it wouldn't do any. If it didn't do anything, we would take a note, just quietly take a note and say and then we'd work that into the, as an actual feature. We'd script some kind of occurrence to happen there, and in the next update, we would shoot out an update and then give that streamer, that personality, basically design credit for for coming up with this cool feature. And then that caused the streamers to engage even further and say oh, we really like this, we like engaging with that, and allowed that dialogue to create and let them kind of exist in our ecosystem. And so I think nurturing the community is very big, both before and after launching a title.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. So you actually have meaningful feedback and then respond to that feedback from the community, which then develops trust and develops interest. Well, thank you very much for that. Ricky, I don't know if you have a similar or a different approach, but again, you have multiple games. When you're thinking of what to do next, what is it that goes through your mind? Are you thinking of a diversity of titles? Are you thinking about one title did particularly well and thinking about how you can expand upon that? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. First, I just want to say my introduction was just about myself and not the companies, which was kind of weird. So Beyond Frames is a company that's all about getting games out there. It's been so far mostly getting the games out from our own studios, but we are making some substantial announcements about on the publishing side very soon. Cortopia is all about creating the games themselves, and also two of our other studios. So I would say, so at this point we have one single player game on the market, which is an Alice in Wonderland game called Down the Rabbit Hole, which we are very happy with it. It turned out to be one of the highest rated games on the Quest store, and very happy with the innovation of the locomotion system there. You kind of pull yourself literally down the rabbit hole while you're playing. You can see the whole world above you and things like that. We then have a co-op game called Call in the Reaper Man, where you play asynchronous gameplay, one in VR, one outside of VR, or two people in VR, kind of helping each other out. And we have one multiplayer game called Wands. So, and the Wands game is kind of magical duels between two people. And the next game we're launching in just a few weeks is a city builder called Space Folk City, where you're kind of building this world around you and catering to the interests of the people of that world and so on. And it kind of shows, so we have these four different games, four pretty different genres altogether. And I think that is a kind of indication of how we're thinking about VR at this point. It's still, even though there's been a bunch of years now where people have been working in VR, and we have been on it since 2015, 2014, and but it's still a lot of innovation. So we still encourage people internally and externally to invent new ways to play, new ways to experience things. We have found out as a community some things that work and a lot of things that doesn't work in VR. And but we still feel that there's room for a lot of innovation. As we also heard Finn talk about, we are also doing a lot of testing, user testing. So already very early on from the prototyping stage all the way through to launch, we do a lot of user testing in different, we have a community that we work with. We have local schools in Sweden that we can work with easily. And then also, of course, some online online companies that help us with these things. It's making sure that the design, the art, the tech, and the people, all four comes together in an interesting way to bet on.
Awesome. Yeah, you make it sound easy. But no, I know it's extraordinarily difficult, especially with four very, very different titles. So excited to see how that emerges, especially that city builder. That's my favorite genre. Well, Tony, turning over to you. So you're an industry insider and influencer yourself, as well as a developer. So what are some of the trends you've seen of games that you've reported on? I know you report and evaluate many other experiences. And what made you, of all those genres, choose fitness?
Fitness, as you said, is one of the genres that has proven to be the most successful, surprisingly, because even people from Facebook, Oculus were not convinced that it could work because it makes people sweat a lot. But talking also about other genres, for instance, I'm seeing the trend of the multiplayer going always stronger. I remember some years ago, multiplayer was like something people was a bit afraid to touch because there were not enough people in VR. And so lots of multiplayer titles failed because there were not enough people on the servers who wanted to connect. So most of them implemented bots, so this kind of stuff. Well, now we have games like, EcoVR, like Population One that got super popular, like Demeo that has become another big trend. So I've seen that there's a lot more attention towards the multiplayer lately. This is a trend that I've seen a lot. Even Beat Saber, that we all thought about it like a single player game, has become a multiplayer one. So this is a big trend that I've seen lately. And we are considering it as well, for instance, for the possible future. Talking about fitness, because we have this game, HitMotion Reloaded, we started working with it like 2 years ago. There was this opportunity to create a game for the Vive Focus Plus. So it was not clear at the moment that fitness could be a big trend. But already at the moment it was evident how, since virtual reality is very physical and exercising requires to move a lot, it was a perfect match because you can have fun in the game by moving, playing the game, and since you move, you exercise. So fitness and VR are like a perfect match. We're seeing lately lots of good games, apart from the most famous one, also some indie titles like VR Workout, Crazy Kung Fu that the developer is in China, so it has 2 languages. Trail of the Fight is another great title. And there is so big trend that even Facebook put some billboards in some American cities to promote this use. So I think this trend is going to go always better in the next times. It's really important.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually saw one of those fitness billboards in San Francisco. And so that was quite exciting. Definitely excited to see more, and good luck with FitMotion as well. Artemis, let's change gears a little bit. So you're on a slightly different side. You're an ecosystem developer and incorporating and licensing others' contents. Tell us a bit more about the VR gaming market as you see it in China, which is your core market. And why is Movision now more aggressively moving into that space, having previously been a hardware manufacturer?
Yes. As everybody knows that China is a big market because we have the largest population in the world, and nearly half about the population are game players. And the Chinese people are very excited about VR. And but the problem is that we are lack of good content in China right now. Yeah, so our customers, they need more good content in VR, and what they need, we will try our best to provide. So we decided to enter into this aspect to build our own content ecosystem, so we can try our best to satisfy our customers' needs.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I can definitely see, particularly with the void of Quest not being in the marketplace, not for Chinese customers not being able to tap into many of the largest content marketplaces, why that would be necessary. And hopefully that leads to a renaissance in more studios and developers in China as well. So thank you for sharing with that. So Jeremy, again, changing gears a bit. So you've been running an LBE Summit for 5 years. What have you seen change? Again, have you noticed any particular trends in types of games or approaches that people are now taking as opposed to, say, 5 years ago?
Absolutely. LBE, location-based entertainment space, has been changing drastically over the past 5 years. 5, 6 years ago, we were looking at these proof of concepts of people running around in these VR arcades in these arena scale or warehouse scale free roam type of experiences, wearing backpacks, giant helmets. And as time went on, a year, 2 years in, and that's sort of when we started seeing the rise of these smaller size VR arcades in malls and these little storefronts where, you know, anybody with, you know, sort of a vibe and a dream could put together a VR arcade experience and collect together a bunch of games and events. And that's sort of when we got started. But our approach was a little different. Tony was talking about how multiplayer was a big challenge in VR early on. And the way that we tackled that, we were all about social multiplayer in VR. We believe that you know, one of the best experiences you can have using VR as a tool is being able to connect with people in a very different way than you can in real life or in a 2D video game. So the way that we tackled that was we had a 4-player VR game, arena scale VR game, but co-located. So we had a 20 by 20 foot space. Folks were wearing Vives and a MSI VR1 backpack back in the day before Quests were out. And they were running around playing this obstacle course game, punching blocks. It's called RoboCats. They were going through this obstacle course, dodging walls, and they had to work together as a team, communicate, actually, like, you know, walk around each other and talk to each other and communicate. And it was amazing for all ages, taught kids leadership skills. It was great for corporate events. So that's sort of how we tackled that problem. Was, well, you know, there's not enough people multiplayer online or know about our game, but we can have, you know, people come to the arcade or go out and do these mobile events, corporate events, and have people play virtually. And now, of course, you know, when COVID hit and VR LBE Summit 2020 was a very, very interesting conference. You know, how do we talk about VR arcades when there's COVID? And, you know, VR arcades were just, you know, getting really, really successful. People were figuring out the business model. People were making money off of it and growing to, you know, 1, 2, 3 and multiple chains. And then COVID hits, you know, so we really got to understand how people were adapting their model, either, you know, their events are going online or, you know, and all these new safety precautions that they were adding to make the experience better. And the sort of saving grace for that industry, and folks are, you know, doing a lot better now, you know, sort of coming out of COVID, but we found out that the business model for VR arcades is very similar to regular arcades, you know, your Dave and Buster's, Chuck E. Cheese. It's based on events, it's based on your birthday parties, it's based on your corporate events, usually one collected group of people. So luckily, a lot of the businesses were able to continue servicing, you know, like your quarantine families and those groups, even during COVID, and now folks are starting to come back out, and everybody sort of, you know, figured out what the safety protocols are now. So the process is much easier. So it's definitely changed a lot in the past 5 years.
Yeah, no, I believe it. And of course, we unfortunately did see some closures with LBEs, though I recently read that The Void might be coming back under a new title. It's a nice, fun one that we'll see, of course, with an evolved business model, and many others that have actually ridden through scarred but surviving. So that's
VR
definitely good to
entrepreneurs
see
are very
that.
resilient.
They'll come back. And so thank you very much. We now will turn to a brief presentation by our sponsor, Movision, who has a really interesting and extremely pertinent and important announcement for any VR studio in the audience. Interesting opportunity to potentially get some funding. So I'm going to go ahead and open this now and turn it over to Artemis.
Thanks, Gavin, and thanks, everyone. Movision was founded in 2017 with the mission of democratizing XR technology in China and around the world by designing high-quality XR hardware at affordable prices. In the past 4 years, Movision has sold more than 300,000 units. It's about 40% of domestic VR hardware market in China. We've emerged as a leading XR hardware manufacturer in China. Our VR content ecosystem, Movision VR World, was established end of last year. It's designed to connect China's ever-expanding VR user base with the best VR content that the world has to offer. That comes to the big question: why should international developers work with us? China has the largest population in the world, and nearly half are game players. Chinese gamers, while still adopting XR like consumers around the world, have been doing so for far longer. And VR adoption is much higher in China than in the US and other Western countries. Chinese players are excited about VR and they are hungry for good content. China, while incredibly advanced in VR hardware, doesn't have many of our own developers or content creators. The solution is international games. And we Movision have already signed agreements with several fantastic titles, and we are looking to expand to even more. But what makes Movision different from other XR companies? We serve not only one brand's customers, we create hardware through numerous ODM partnerships, and we are providing titles publishing with us to every operating brand for free. Your content will come pre-installed on 100,000 headsets every year and be sold by the biggest names in Chinese VR, not just the Movision. We are very excited to be investing 45 million in a support fund for developers, users, content creators, and distribution. We're throwing down over the next 3 years to create an incredible VR content ecosystem that'll bring world-class content to the Chinese market. Of course, we don't expect exclusivity, so you could continue to work with your existing partners and keep your options open. We also own a VR-focused TikTok account with 2 million fans in China. It will continuously help promote titles publishing with us. In addition, we also provide free localization, financial support like a minimum guarantee, real-time English language support at the general standard XR, a Chinese version of OpenXR with which developers could release their titles to different headsets while not integrating with numerous SDKs. I also would like to share with you more about Movision, but I don't want to take too much of your time here. But you must know that Movision is serious about what we are doing now. So please don't hesitate to join us and create a wider audience in China. For more information about Movision, you can check our website, and you're welcome to contact us any questions anytime. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Artemis. And for those studios in the audience, you can see why this would be an important announcement. A $45 million injection into licensing non-exclusively content from around the world is certainly an interesting opportunity to look into. So for those of you that haven't already, if you're interested, feel free to reach out to Artemis. Feel free to check out the website to learn more. And without further ado, let's continue and dive back into our conversation as well. Though this time I want to shift gears a little bit. before we're talking about sort of higher level discussion of this industry at large, let's talk now about some of the challenges that I know the industry is facing, and here are sort of what each of you are doing to sort of resolve it. So Tony, let's maybe start with you. I know, and I've read much of what you've said about the walled garden of Oculus and your love of the App Lab store. So how do you see that impacting developers, indie developers in particular? And what suggestions do you have? How are you overcoming those types of challenges as a smaller studio?
Well, that's a very interesting topic. I mean, there will be the need of lots of time to talk about it. So basically, Oculus started with a very closed store for the Oculus Quest, and that was good, for the user to have more curation, but at the same time meant fewer content for the users and no possibility for developers to reach what was a fast-growing platform. That was really a pity. There was no possibility to experiment, etc., etc. Then arrived SideQuest, and thanks to it, Oculus understood the importance of having a fervent in the community around its hardware. So it created this App Lab store that is like a second-tier store for indies for the Oculus Quest. This is good because you can finally publish something on the Oculus platform and have a link to share things very easily with our peers. So we thank Oculus at least for that, but we have still some big problems. And the first one is that we have no visibility. You know that for an indie title on whatever platform, the visibility, the discoverability of the game is the most important problem. While on the other platforms, I don't know, the Google Play Store, it's very difficult to get noticed, but at least you have a chance if someone looks for the game in the search bar. In the Oculus App Lab, it's impossible. You are completely unlisted. So either someone knows where to find your title or no one is going to find it. And this is a big problem because you have to invest a lot in marketing, influencer relationship, in getting published on the main magazines like Upload VR, AutoVR, etc., because otherwise no one knows about your game. You don't have enough downloads to sell your game, or maybe to hope for a promotion to the official store. So the main challenge, I think, is the one of the visibility, because the App Lab is very open. And I don't know how many of you I know that I published just a cube. It's called the Unity Cube. It's just a cube. I published it on App Lab, and it's available there, and some thousands of people have downloaded it. So it's very open as a store. You have just to meet some basic requirements, but you have the problem of making people know about your game. And that's, a lot of handwork. There's not a magic bullet. You have to spend money in advertisement, contact influencer, find the game, so that, make some cool videos. I noticed that some games have become popular on Reddit because they made some cool GIFs, 30 seconds, 1 minute shared on Reddit and became popular. So it's all about marketing. That's an old problem, and here is even more important. And just 30 seconds also to say that the other problem is monetization, because at the moment on App Lab, you can just sell a title with a certain price, but you don't have enough purchases, for instance. And that's another problem for us in this. But Oculus luckily said that Facebook has said that this should be fixed by the end of the year.
Awesome. Yeah. So clearly it is as fun as it is, a bit of an uphill battle for indie developers for sure. Finn, let's turn to you. So you have made many, many titles, though only some of them, I believe, are published actually on Quest. How are you thinking about sort of the challenges facing you, and what are they, and how are you overcoming them?
Yeah, Oculus App Lab, you don't want to, of course, it's not to badmouth the amazing team there at Facebook Reality Labs. There's some really amazing people doing really good things for the community. But to listen to the developers, I feel is crucial to allow this ecosystem to grow. There's a huge opinion, I'd say, in the social media, Reddit, across the Discords, across basically the indie community, that App Lab is somewhat exploiting the indie developers. There are issues that are easily changeable, that are essentially scarring an indie to once they go through the process of actually building the content, getting it published for App Lab. They promote and spend money on content promotion and lead people to the Quest store, get people knowledgeable that their content's on there, only to have the content essentially show up as not available. So a couple of the main issues that could be easily resolved, and has been risen as an issue that remains unresolved from the beginning is, for instance, if you search for any name of any game and you get even remotely close, that name will still pop up in the search bar and you can check it, you can switch it. If you type an App Lab game verbatim, it doesn't show up in the search lab. It only shows first-party Oculus titles and some of the other high-rated games but mostly first-party Oculus-owned titles. And then if you actually type the name perfectly exact, you hit enter, it only shows your game's competitive titles and a bunch of first-party Oculus titles, and you have to scroll all the way to the bottom and find a drop down that says there's another thing in App Lab. You expand that and then you see the game. If you have a single letter wrong, or if you have a punctuation, or if you have a spacing error, your game won't show up at all. It'll only show your competitors' titles. That is a crucially abhorrent, just horrible user experience for the developer, and essentially goes against the standard of every other digital marketplace, whether it be a streaming service or every other app store on the market. If you search for the game name, these are our fans searching for our game. We brought them there. They're searching specifically for our game name and they can't find our game. It looks like it's not available. I've had hundreds of emails saying, hey, I can't find it. I have to respond saying, oh, scroll to the bottom, haha. And that's an unfortunate reality that could easily be resolved. And it hurts, and I hope that's one of the main elements, that it doesn't require visibility. It doesn't require being on the official store, but it's just a piece of user experience that could be easily resolved. Another issue is the submission process is somewhat of a black box. If you try to submit something for the Oculus Quest store, and you don't get approved, there's no verbiage or feedback, or you just get a blanket response letter that doesn't have any difference from anybody else's response letter. It's just an automated response saying, hey, we also have App Lab. And that is for an indie studio, or for any studio. I know there's a slew of amazing games on Oculus App Lab that are kind of stuck in limbo. And again, it's not to harm or to be against the amazing team there. They're doing everything they can. However, I feel like there's a little bit more if they listen to developer feedback and adjusted and tweak, turn some of these screws, just those two elements, maybe a little bit more clarity on what a game needs to be able to bring it to the next level, what kind of elements could bring it to partner with them to reach the proper store, and just the discovery from our fans searching our titles to not be closed off from discovering our title. I've heard from countless indie developers that have a real issue with it, and for the #1 platform, we need that support to the community for our ecosystem to rise.
That's a fantastic feedback, Finn. And yeah, it almost sounds like the beginning of like a developer's manifesto. Hopefully they take up some of that, and also great for other app ecosystems. Movision, hope you're listening. It seems like that's very relevant feedback. So let's turn to a slightly different set of questions. And so Ricky, you've published games in many different languages. I know Down the Rabbit Hole is in German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, probably many other dialects as well. What was the challenge in sort of implementing a global strategy for a game, as that seems to be something that is still relatively niche?
Sure. Yeah, I think that Down the Rabbit Hole has around 15 languages supported, something like that. And it's clearly an effort, also figuring out which of those languages you should bet on. It's one of those things that Beyond Frames helps out with when it comes to games to other studios. along with things like funding, the marketing things, submissions, age rating, store management, QA, testing, awards, exhibitions, getting first-party relations, getting the games onto the Visual Quest store, things like that. So when it comes to these languages, of course, we need to use our business intelligence data to figure out which languages are relevant for us on which markets. Another thing to figure out also for games when you go global is to know, so the first step of localization is to do subtitles. The second one is to do voice. The third one is to change in-game assets if you have signs and things written in the game itself. And the fourth level is to change the mocap if you have facial mocap together with your voice acting. And it's important to find the right level, because the further down that line you go, it's more expensive if you go the whole way. I think people are pretty used to, in a lot of countries, you're pretty used to having some type of games and movies and so on. You especially when they're directed towards a younger audience, you're used to looking at videos, movies and games where you have dubbed voice on top of face acting that is actually in a different language. So depending on your audience and the type of game, you might not have to go all the way down that list, even if you want to do something spectacular in each market. So it's quite unusual, especially in VR so far, to go all the way down that list. But you need to figure out how far to go for each market where it makes sense. Yeah, I just wanted to say around mocap that it's something we find is very interesting going forward for the VR space, because as you all know, who have tried VR together with friends, being in a virtual space together with other people is amazing. Being inside of games that has true well done mocap where you can meet the characters, such as in Valve's game Half-Life Alyx, at those points in that game where you meet characters that have really good motion capture for face and body, it's very captivating. You really get into feeling as if that character is totally real and actually there. So it's something we find is very interesting going forward, to take VR to the next level when it comes to storytelling.
Awesome. Yeah, I will say some of my favorite influencers now are on posting virtual avatars completely done in mocap. I know everyone's seen probably Baby Yoda's dance and a handful of others that have gone viral. So yeah, definitely exciting to see how that evolves too. So Artemis, what's, again, different side here. What are the challenges you're seeing in promoting consumer-facing VR games in China? So maybe outside of that LBE space, getting the consumers to really pick up a VR headset and play.
Actually, in promoting VR titles, the biggest problem is that we don't have enough great titles. Although people in China are really thirsty for good content, but we are really lack of right now. So we really need your help. We really need every developers and creators help here. Yeah, we're trying to do our best to introduce more great international titles to our customers. So, and we already have our own KOLs. I mean, the influencers, they are continuously producing videos about different titles, and they publish the videos to the Chinese TikTok to attract more more customers. And people really like the videos and they wanted to play these titles, but they couldn't buy the titles, couldn't experience them now because they haven't been introduced into China yet. Yeah, so we are trying our best to introduce more great titles to them.
No, it totally makes sense. It reminds me of when console gaming was not allowed in China. So there was just this desperate demand for Switch and PlayStation and all of the other relevant Xbox, etc. And then finally, when they were able to get in, there was just this massive explosion of interest. So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we're just waiting for that watershed moment to happen as well. I want to shift gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about business models. So Jeremy, I know we had spoken previously that you had previously run a VR LBE location-based arcade, then shifted your model. So how are you thinking about sort of the financial model of running a studio these days, and what does that look like for you?
Absolutely. And right before I get to that, I'd love to follow up with Artemis afterwards and talk about how we can get our game that's on Steam right now into Movision. Sounds like a wonderful platform. But also real quick, on what Finn and Tony were talking about, 100% share sort of how you felt and your frustrations over the Quest store. To try to shed a little bit of light for our indie developers here, lucky for us, we're in the Bay Area. So we were lucky enough to just grab a dinner with the folks on the Quest store team, people who actually reviewed the games. And the sort of insight that they gave us was, at the beginning, this is pre-COVID, so it might be outdated, but they were looking to create something that's more like the Nintendo Switch store, where imagine a consumer who doesn't know anything about games goes to the store and they're ready to spend their money, and no matter what they buy, it's going to be 100% completed quality content. So what they told us was they're trying to create an ecosystem like that, where people just don't even have to think about spending their money, and everything's 100% complete. So anything that has an Unity asset, they knock out. Anything that might be like 75% complete, great game, really fun, community loves it, but if they have 7 out of the 10 chapters, not going to make it into the Quest store. So that sort of, we, after talking to them, we sort of got a better idea of, okay, this is what they're trying to create. And, luckily now we have the App Lab where we can at least get the link, and, folks on our Discord can play our game on the Quest. But that's sort of a little insight on sort of what we learned from, the folks that we talked to and how we got there. But yeah, the business model for, VR arcade and LBE, and also just as a developer. So we were sort of dual, developers creating games for VR arcade and Steam, but also running a VR arcade, and it was hard. We realized a year into it, it wasn't for us. We weren't, as passionate about running a retail mall store than we were being developers and creating content. And we realized we were spending most of our money that we were making from the arcade, the ticket sales and the walk-ins and we were spending it on the rent and the labor. But we realized where we were making most of our profit was on the events, going out to, the companies around here and doing corporate events, going out to folks' houses and places to do birthday parties. So our model, we just sort of switched out of the mall and the location and just started doing mobile events. And then on the game developer side, since we were so involved with the VR LBE community, we started licensing our games on Springboard VR is a great platform, and many, many other platforms that license games. And it could be your in-home games. It could be, games developed, designed for VR LBE. They accept all of them. We have our, Steam in-home games on there, as well as our LBE games. So that's sort of, that combined business model. And then eventually we also, as indie developers, you sort of scrap together everything you can find, right? You sort of, try whatever you can to stay afloat. We also did a bunch of enterprise apps and hosted conferences to, sell our games and find VR arcades and sort of people who would license our games. And nowadays we do, we create 3D virtual trade show experiences. So our business model has evolved, adapted, and just to survive basically, and also figuring out what our passion was and where our skill sets was, what problems we could solve, and what type of experiences we could create for players and gamers.
Terrific. No, I love that feedback. Actually, Finn, let's call over to you, because I imagine you have had a similar exploration sort of pathway, and I know you're also now doing social VR events. So
Sure.
what are your thoughts on sort of the business model of VR studios going forward?
Yeah, it's cool to have a competitor or compadre on the panel here. We also, to circle back to that, just to hit again on that kind of App Lab subject. We also spoke with people. We heard those feedbacks. We heard the curated ecosystem statements. We heard the vision that was laid out for the product, pushing stuff onto Switch, even with a failure of access, they will give you feedback on what's not maybe available. That's a big element that the community needs. If they're going to be turned down from a store, they need that. So it does not create dissonance. It does not, it allows them to reach that last 30%. We have a game, Baby Hands has over 1 billion gameplay views on YouTube, but it's kind of stuck. We're not sure what Oculus lined up a consulting deal with us for their partner, which we went through and got it ready, and then still stuck in limbo. To the Top was rated PSVR Game of the Year and stuck on App Lab. There's a slew of others we could list that are essentially well-rounded, polished, super fan favorite games that just are, not being curated essentially. And so again, this is not a hit to the people there. They have an amazing team doing really amazing things and a crazy amount of different things to focus on. But I hope that they hear this developer feedback in a positive note and maybe evolve it, because it doesn't need Prime Store placement. There's the Unity Cube that doesn't need to be in the store, right? It's cool that it's there, and it's cool that it shows how easy it is to publish content up there. Not to poo on your cube there, but the notion of being able to curate means to curate to help get this content up there, and then at least have some dialogue there, because that helps us build this business model, be it for consumer or for LBE that was spoken. We also had actually one of our games that won Best in Show was Blazer League. It's this really fun, fast-paced esports games, like Tron meets Ender's Game, real fun, fast-paced esports game in VR. And we had in 2020 our goal. We took it to CES. It won Best Esports Experience there, and we had this huge, vision for the future. We had built a manager app where people could basically run 6 tournaments from a single iPad with a wall of headsets. They could assign a headset, hand this person, join this tournament. You could have one person running 6 groups of people, and had shared space multiplayer arenas, as well as a mixture for accessibility of, standing and seated or shared space altogether. So it's a cool LBE solution that we were building with our partners at Cinertech, who build these like location-based VR experiences in malls and shopping centers. And so we had a plan early 2020 to have 50 locations. We had a deal, 50 malls around the world by August of 2020. And of course, we had a South by Southwest esports tournament where we had a $10,000 grand prize and another $10,000 worth of gear, Alienware gear and stuff. And basically 2 weeks before South by Southwest in 2020, a lot of the closures kind of started happening, and it was mandated to close, and so we shifted gears drastically from that title, and we still, it's still there. We still plan on doing some cool stuff. We're going to have a big booth at AWE in Santa Clara this year, showing off some updates and some cool stuff, and a sequel to Baby Hands, and our new game Shadow of Valhalla, which is like a Viking combat game, which is kind of a complete 180 from Baby Hands. But we have a very interesting team here at Chicken Waffles. We have multiple teams with juggling developers across multiple projects. We've recently been expanding Chicken Waffle to announce our Chicken Waffle Indie Publishing Fund. So we are working with other indie creators, innovative content creators, AR and VR, and NFT creators to essentially bring this new publishing opportunity for innovative creators, and it's really exciting. We're about to be doing a big press release on that, and we have brought in already some really cool content partnerships. So one of the games is Cowbots and Aliens, which is a favorite existing game that has been on early access only for a long time. but we're bringing that to Quest and PlayStation VR and other platforms. China has, opened up a lot of opportunities. Like Artemis, her company is specifically a solid solution that we're seeing the marketplace and ecosystem evolve for developers building compelling content and being able to license it to these new marketplaces. I think that's really cool because as we start seeing LBE open back up, we need these solutions to be in place for indie developers or just for developers across the board that build this content to be able to easily get this stuff onto more marketplaces and understand the goal and the delivery. And then as an LBE solution, somebody that's running LBE, they need these solutions specifically like hers to be able to say, here's a turnkey solution to be able to like start up here. I have the space, I have the community, I need the software or the platform. And that's specifically, it sounds like what she's curating there. And so, with us, it's kind of a mixture. We've been doing like 7 different teams internally. We're kind of narrowing the focus recently. We've done so many like product marketing and visualization projects. A lot of those came from just doing good work and being a square shooter, and standing by our work and going that extra mile after it's live, and a month later when they need something and we don't charge them an extra scope, we just fix it. Those kind of things mean a lot, I think, to clients. And then they're in fact a lot of our newer clients are just people that those clients recommended, because if you do good work and you treat people right, then they want to help. They want to recommend you, and there's no better way of marketing your workforce as just doing good work and helping people succeed. And so like this last year, one of our big things we started doing was
I'm sorry, Finn, just we're coming close to the hour, so I'm gonna have to cut you off this little bit, but that was fantastic. Yeah, fantastic feedback. Love the diversity of stores you're publishing to. I love the way you're thinking about the business model. I love the fact that you're willing to explore international markets as an alternative, or at least as a supplement of a revenue source to what you could otherwise get on Quest. There's a fantastic conversation, by the way, going on simultaneously in the chat. For those of you that are kind of hashing this out, it definitely seems like it is a sensitive topic for everyone involved. Though, do want to just give a last few words for our remaining speakers. So for Ricky, I want to talk about a different angle. Your studio has emerged differently. Instead of it being a single studio that's publishing different content, you've actually invested in and acquired other studios in order to create sort of your own sort of incubator of sorts for content. So tell us a little bit about how you're taking that approach, how it's a little bit different and how it's working for you.
Sure. So we have made 4 acquisitions at this point, or 4 studios. And so we have actually done, so M&A is one of the ways we're going, organic growth is another, publishing is one, and then XRification, or whatever you want to call it. So when it comes to organic, recruitment lately has been amazing because VR is cool again. It's like it had it down, and now it's up again. It's cool. The numbers are there for a lot of these new headsets, and I think it's really important to aim for really great people because as one of my colleagues says, A people recruits A people, and B people recruits C people. So you would really want to get up there and have amazing people leading, but because then you can get more junior people along and still build a great team. So the last 8 people we hired have had like 18 years of average of game industry experience. So it's been fantastic working on recruitment lately on the organic growth. When it comes to XRification, we have figured that there are a ton of amazing flat screen games out there. Most of them would be terrible in VR. And they are, but there are some of them that could be redesigned to be amazing, and we are finding those and getting approached, and also looking for them actively, and our design team creates an XR design document. We take the risk, we add a revenue stream, and we split the money. So that's the second part of our growth journey. The third one is publishing. So we have now an amazing publishing team working to handle all the ins and outs of getting funded, producing the right quality, getting it sold on the right stores, and keeping it maintained. So we're now ready to take this on at a greater scale, which we will have some announcement about pretty soon from Beyond Frames. And then M&A, the last one. Again, we evaluate design, art, tech, and people together to know where to invest. We have then different leads looking into these different sections, and then of course finance. We collaborate a lot between the different studios, and because, as you say, it's like an incubator of sorts where we work a lot together. We can bring in resources from Beyond Frames. We can use resources between the teams or the companies. And do a lot of collaborations, but we also make sure that each of the studios can continue being themselves, make the games, the style they want to make, and still use their own company name, and still have their own passion for their own studio and IP. So that's what we try to keep. So yeah, it's very interesting. We meet so many interesting people in the XR space and get to talk about a lot of games that we all love.
I love it. You have sort of the corporate side that can handle distribution and marketing, the things that developers might not care about. And then you have the studios each maintaining their own creative identity and being able to theoretically sort of share those communal corporate sort of administrative resources. So very interesting to see how that goes and how that model evolves, and to see if that's something that can be replicated by others and continue to thrive. So last few questions here. So Tony, I know you are very active in China, very active with the community there. And what experiences have you had, or what suggestions rather do you have in sort of working with global app stores or working in distributing your product in Asia?
Well, I have some experience. I would like to have more, but I've had my share experience with China because I'm connected, because my interest from China since before my interest for VR. And some suggestion that I may have if you want to connect that, first of all, is trying to get some context there so that you can know better how things work there, because you know that very well, Gavin, China is very different from the Western, both the markets, the people, etc., etc. So it's better that you have a local partner is the best thing. If you cannot have a local partner, at least have some people that can guide you a bit on how to behave. And just to talk about some difficulties that we had, for instance, we launched our first version of Hitmotions in the Vive Ecosystem Conference in Shenzhen. It was a pretty cool moment. And we had the support of HTC China in the initial operations in going to their in the Vive store, in the Vive Portem store, etc., etc. So we had some initial guidance. Some difficulties that we had, for instance, was about the contract. So having a contract, a back and forth between Italy and China, the contract they should have written in 2 languages. And you had also to sign something maybe written in Chinese without knowing what is inside, because there is a translation, but you can't read the actual one that you also sign in Chinese. There is a lot of time needed, maybe lots of delays that may happen. Also, the people that have different ways of games that they may like, or what they appreciate more or less of the game, different from here. I remember when we went to the conference in Nanchang, the World Conference of Virtual Reality, that is quite an important conference organized by the government. We went there with our boxing game, Hitmotion game, and where we showcased here in the West, it's like all people punching stuff and having fun. And where they're like in China, people are just punching things this way. They didn't want to punch things hard, apart from people that were doing sports. So we had to, from day 1 to day 2 of the exhibition, to change all the thresholds of the game. Otherwise, no one was able to destroy a target. For instance, we noticed that people didn't like at all to read tutorials there. They wanted to be inside the action. For instance, that people that like to appear cool when looking from the outside. So for us, it's a bit less important. There is more interested in that you appear cool and people can make videos about you and share them. So there is some things that you have to consider more when you develop and share your game. And of course, also the marketing channels are different. You say that I'm an influencer, I don't like these words, but anyway, I'm very active on social media channels here in the West, but no one in China reads Twitter or Facebook, maybe someone with a VPN. So there are other channels there like Weibo, other kind of blogs there, like I'm connected lately with VR Tool World that here is unknown and there is a good community. And there you have to use WeChat. So it's all another market. And my suggestion really is that if you want to enter there, it's better that you have a partner that's good here, that there is more vision that can guide people that can want to enter that market, guiding them on the marketing, on discovering the market, on the distribution, etc., because it's super important in my opinion.
Awesome. You forgot the most important one, which is you got to come to AWE Asia. No, that's just kidding.
Yes. I just wanted you to tell that.
Very good.
Always
No, that's
closing.
fantastic.
Always be closing.
Fantastic feedback, Tony. And last, to close us off, so Artemis, we just got some feedback from Tony. Let's hear it from your perspective. I mean, what is it when you're looking at the Chinese market? What are the types of games that you're looking for, and what should the developers on this, like watching this, be thinking about when they're creating a game that's good for the Chinese market?
Actually, we are looking for all kinds of games because Chinese players are beginning to accepting more types of games. They want to try something new. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Actually, there are some differences between the favorite games between the Chinese players and the Western players. But if it's a rhythm game like Beat Saber, Audio Trip, Synth Riders, but people all around the world could accept it. But if it's a fighting game, as you know, the policies in China may forbidden some kind of fightings, like if it's too bloody. Yeah, so even though people here like this kind of game, that they may don't have a chance to experience it, or don't have the chance to experience the same one as at Oculus Store. We may need to make some changes to these games before it could be released to this store. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, fantastic panel, everyone. Again, I just want to give a round of applause to, I guess, everyone, no one will hear it, but for all of our amazing panelists, terrific insight. Again, for those of you that came in a little later, it will be shared on the AWE YouTube channel and made available for everyone. Of course, you can see all of our panelists again here. Thank you again for being here. For those that would like to contact Movision, you can go to movisionvr.com and learn more about how you can license content there. And as we said in the very beginning, I really do hope that we see all of you that can come to the AWE Asia Virtual Expo, where we can always connect between our community in Asia and the rest of the world. Again, you go to aweasia.com and see it there. And without further ado, I'd like to say goodbye to all of you and thank you again for taking the time, and look forward to seeing you at our next AWE Nite.